Sarah and I are privileged to be a part of a very healthy church, Somerville Baptist Church. They now currently have 2 locations. We're a part of their second campus, encouraging the staff there and working alongside of them. The pastor there is more than just a pastor, although he really is a pastor to me and to my wife Sarah, but he's a dear friend. And because we've been sharing this journey of ministry now for several years, he and I have done some hiking together, we do a lot of coffee together, that I asked him if he would be willing to come over to our house and sit to interview Sarah and me regarding the journey that we're on through Sarah's dementia. And I did it for a couple of reasons. Number one is that I wanted this to be really an organic living process. And I wanted us to be able to respond to questions that were honestly put to us that I had not prepared the questions in advance. And I knew that Randy was the perfect person to do this. And when you see him, hear him, you'll understand why. I encourage you to go to Somerville Baptist Church and watch some of his preaching videos there, because you'll see why we love him so very much, because of his style as a person. And the other reason is that Sarah doesn't love doing this. She doesn't like being on camera. She doesn't like having pictures taken. She certainly doesn't like to have a video done. But I reassured her that it would be okay. Just answer the questions, and you'll forget the fact that the cameras are rolling. And because she knows and loves Randy too. And so Randy graciously came, sat with us, I'm not sure exactly, it's something less than an hour. And so we got to respond to his questions, not for our sake, and you'll see at the beginning why we are actually doing this. So without any further ado, welcome into our home an interview of James and Sarah Pope by Randy Harling, lead pastor of the Somerville Baptist Church.
All right. You ready?
As can be.
Are you?
I'm always ready to give an answer.
That's right. You're not at a loss of words. So thank you, James and Sarah, for having me over here at the palatial plantation that is the Pope. You guys should see this place. It's incredible. So now that I've said that, give us a little context, because I'm not sure everybody's in the same place of keeping up with you guys. We're going to talk about an issue that, of course, is a life-changing issue for both of you, but this isn't the only thing you've been dealing with. You've had layers of challenges and seasons of life. Can you expound on that a little bit, James?
Well, having been in ministry like you as long as I have, life has been a succession of challenges. And we've been accustomed to dealing with those in the people that we've served. But what goes around comes around, and in this case for us, it started several years back with, I guess it was, really the death of her brother in 2012, to lose a sibling, because that's evoked more response on Facebook than any other thing that I've talked about. And so with that, and then that was in 2012, and then in 2000, and get our timeline here, 2021, during COVID is when our daughter-in-law died, totally unexpected, expected to come home, got that worst of all calls in the middle of the night when our son called and said, "Dad, I don't know what to do. Susan's died." And all the hundreds, of people that I've helped say goodbye to, that was the hardest one, because it was our son.
Yeah.
He had his loss, and we were sharing his loss and our own loss. And then the following year, Sarah's older sister developed cancer, and so she died 2 years ago this June. It went from metastatic, non-small cell metastatic lung cancer, and went finally to a brain. And then on the heels of that, my older brother was diagnosed with a glioblastoma. That was the beginning of last year. They gave him 12 to 18 months, and he made it 14. So we said goodbye to him back in February. No, actually, it was March the 7th. But sometime early this year. The timeline's running together. And so it was between all those events that we began to sense that, I began to sense that something was going on here, and it wasn't until this year, early on, that we began that journey of diagnosis to where we are now.
Yeah, so many significant losses in just a few years. Close losses, too.
I'm the only one left.
You're the only one left in your family.
I am.
Well, I admire you, Sarah, for being so open about all of this and so honest. So tell me, though, was there a time when you were in a little bit of denial, or you just didn't agree that something was going on?
No, I think I knew something was going on. I just didn't know what exactly. I was a little bit more emotional at school. It was very hard to be a school teacher through all this. And so that was hard.
Mm-hmm. So you sensed something.
I
so.
did. I came home and told James, I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong, and we need to find out what it is.
So what was your response, James?
Well, as having been together for 47 years, I had noticed some just subtle hints of issues, probably early last fall. And our daughter and I talked about it when she was here. And I even asked her, probably in October, I said, "You think you're struggling with any cognitive issues?" She said, "Oh, I'm just fine."
Right.
But then she got into the school year, and it just became a bit too much to deal with life on life's terms at school.
Yeah.
And when it got to the point at the end of this fall term, that we knew it's time to do something. We can't just keep going on, whether in denial or embracing. We need to find out what the truth is. And so that's when we began this journey.
Okay.
I knew
So-
something was not right. I was, interestingly, or a God thing, is that I was teaching children that had all kinds of cognitive issues, and but they were a joy most of the time.
Right.
They're so different, and it didn't bother me that they were so different.
Right.
And so I'd never taught children with cognitive issues, but it was, it was very obvious that they did have issues, but their families were so sweet, and they loved anybody that worked with their kids.
So did that experience help you in
I think
adjusting
so.
to yours?
Yeah, I think so. Number one, they're normal kids, except they usually say what's on the tip of their tongue.
Yeah.
But they get along together just as if there was not anything wrong with them, in school. And they get special help. But
Good. So the reality of all of this is you've both been in ministry for a long, long time. And as you said at the top, James, you've walked with a lot of people through crises of some point or another. But let's be real here. What part has fear played in this? Once you know, okay, I'm not wrong.
you know
This
what?
is going on.
I had no fear.
Really?
I just wanted to get to heaven. That's what I cared about, was seeing my family again.
Yeah.
And our God is able to do.
So you've not feared where you're headed. You're
No.
just accepting it.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah. Okay. As the spouse/care provider, how about you, James?
Well, I knew that when, she and her sister were very close, even though there was 6 years in difference in their age. We've done a good bit of life together, even being separated all these miles for the last 30-some years. And so they had a unique, they could have been close siblings. They were just that closely connected. And when her sister died, being the last remaining, remember, I saw something in Sarah die too.
Okay.
By then, everyone else in my family had died.
Okay.
So it was real, and we were a close family. So it's like, and when someone dies and goes to heaven, that's all you can think about.
Mm.
My mama's there, my daddy's there.
Yeah.
So I haven't been afraid of dying. I don't like to take all the medicine they make you take.
Mhm.
And some, the balance issues, and I had there for a while a lot of falls, and our floors are all hard in our house. So when you hit something hard, tile or wood,
Sure.
it's like, it hurts really bad.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't, I'm not afraid of it. I know that my God is able.
Amen. So this companion question to that, it may be a similar answer. You guys are people of faith. And what has this done or informed in your, because the Bible's really clear, we walk by faith and not by sight.
Right.
So let me ask you first, Sarah, that how has this affected, if any, your faith?
No.
None?
Just made it stronger.
Okay.
Because I know whom I have believed,
Yeah.
and know that He is able. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like they're there,
Mm.
and I'm going to join them
Mm.
someday. I don't know when,
Mm.
but it's something that's a natural thing that everybody's going to go through at some time, unless Jesus comes back before. And you just know that God, He's got you in His hand.
So is it safe to say you've leaned into your faith
Oh, yeah.
with Jesus even more?
I think so.
Okay. Which is a dependency thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about you, James?
Well, 34 years ago, the question about what does walking by faith look like? Can a person live by faith alone and have God take care of it?
Yeah.
That's how we ended up leaving Texas and going to Maryland.
Yeah.
And just casting our cares on Him, it changed the course of our ministry. It changed me as a leader, and it opened doors of opportunity that we would never have experienced. We knew tremendous blessings while we were in ministry there. And so it's always been both in the forefront and the back of my mind, this trusting God in faith. And knowing that we preach that and talk that. And knowing that when the time of testing comes, it authenticates or it disqualifies you one way or the other. And so for me, there's no doubt, there's no question, there's no shaking of faith. I would say one of the things it's done in me is it's caused me to step back and have a better understanding of the sovereignty of God in respect to the health of believers. And given the prosperity gospel that's taught out there, that God wants everybody healthy, wealthy, and doing good if you just have enough faith. And so what do you do with the issues of power of healing and prayer in respect to things like this? What do you do with that? And because I'm committed to intellectual honesty, it's like step back and find out what the answers are, even if you don't like them. And so I began to examine Scripture as I'm reading through the Gospels and reading all that's said about healing and who's healing, all those kind of things. And it's been pretty eye-opening to me. And you end up with Paul, who had a thorn in the flesh, to keep him humble, and he asked God to take away 3 times, and God says, no, my grace is enough. If that's the answer Paul got, or if he tells the young Timothy, take a little wine for your stomach's sake and your off infirmities, and saying sometimes medicine is what you need, don't put this. And then the whole implication, so for me, it's expanded, my understanding of the implications of faith for believers in respect to the power of prayer and healing and what God wants to do. And those who've watched the videos I've posted, I've been very clear to say, God's in this. Yeah. And there's a story being written here. And it's going to be an awesome story. And I want to see it through. Because I came to the conclusion a long time ago, if you've paid a price in your spiritual journey to get to where you are, and it's been a high price, it's cost a great deal, to let go of it at that point and either turn away from it or back away from it means that everything you've paid and all that you've suffered it's now for nothing.
Yep.
It's like let's just keep investing in faith in what God can do, and let's see what He's going to do, and whatever that means.
Yep.
God's got it, and He can be trusted even when we're too tired to know
Yep.
what we're going to do next.
Well, you've explained that very well. Has there been a certain side of this that's made you have to be more deliberate? By that I mean, Book of James says don't just presume on God, but
Right.
say, if the Lord wills, I'll go
Yeah.
here tomorrow, I'll do this. And I know how active you've been in ministry here and in the community
Yeah.
and building bridges.
Right.
And now there is an added planning.
It's the unanswered. It's the questions out there, because I'm an A-type personality, just in my nature, to say nothing spiritually. And so how do I factor in the circumstances that God has put us in respect to my responsibility to keep trying to knock on doors and plug away and make connections and seek opportunities to serve and advance the kingdom and provide encouragement and exhortation and come alongside of churches that need help given
Right.
this. And I don't think that we're supposed to labor in spite of it. I think we're supposed to labor through it. And somehow God is going to use that. And when it's just not possible, to do it all, then you say, okay, well then for now I have to take a breather, step back, and it is. But that's the delicate balance, because of the nature of caregiving that has come in terms of all that is radically changed for us right now. But I'm still looking at the horizon. I'm still, building those bridges and making those connections. And now we're just trying to figure out how to do both of these at the same time. Because I think there's a word in that. I think there are people out there in these churches that need to hear
Yep.
and see the witness of God's grace in the hardest of times, that He is trustworthy. And that we don't get a pass. I don't know how many people in your ministry assume that somehow you live a charmed life because you're a preacher. I've had to believe that, but if they've been around me very long, they've decided they don't want my kind of charm. Well, this would fit into that category.
Yeah.
So somehow I want God to be honored in that and glorified in that. And I'm not sure what that looks like. I can't just sit on my hands and say, well, gee, that's all I can do. I want to keep on the. I don't feel like I'm in the military reserves of heaven. I think I'm still on active duty. But what does that look like?
So I hear you saying I'm still striving to. Paul said, "I press on toward the mark." To the high calling that I've been given. You've not given. You've not given in to this, either one of you. You're just figuring out how to go through it and deal with it as you do what you've been called to do. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
So, in light of that, was there ever a moment, again, the humanity, we always want to know purpose and meaning behind all of this, have there been any of those times when you've said, Sarah, why?
Right.
Why does this come on me?
I don't know. I don't think I've said why. Or I would like to know if God could present it to me when I'm going to die.
Oh, okay. Your
I would
head's
like to
higher.
know.
You want 15 more
And
years.
That's why I found that out. I was reading about Hezekiah a couple weeks ago. I went, that's what I want. I want to know. But, and the other side of that is, he's been wonderful. I mean, he's learned how to cook.
Okay.
He's learned how to sweep floors. He's learned how to make beds.
This is another part of the disease. She doesn't recognize I've been doing a lot of that for a long time.
Not like he's been lately. He's taking care of Liam at times. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I worry about is how Liam's going to deal with this.
Yeah.
Because his daddy and his granddaddy are going to have to step up.
Mhm.
He can be a fistful to take care of.
Yep.
But he's growing a lot, but he still talks about his mommy a lot,
Yeah.
which is good. I think that's good that he's doing that.
Mm.
But, and he's not afraid to talk to other kids about. I've heard him say many times to kids, they'll say something about his mommy or something. He'd say, don't talk bad about my mommy.
Mm.
Because she's died and she's in heaven and I'll see her someday.
Mm.
But, you know, I just wonder how he can take another shot.
Right.
But he seems, I haven't told him anything, but I just told him I'm kind of sick.
Yeah.
If I can't get up and lay with you or whatever, you know. And, but that's why I said, I know what we can do. You can teach me how to play chess.
Oh, okay.
So Abigail had given him that nice chess. Well, it's also got all kinds of games inside of it. But at Christmas time, that's what she said. What does Liam need? I don't think he needs any toys. I said, I agree with you there. So, and then at the same time, you know, he found out that his daddy's going to get married.
Mm.
And which is amazing. She's a sweet Christian mom. She has 2 little ones of her own.
Mm.
And they play together so well. And I didn't know how Lynn would, as he's older, he's the oldest one.
Okay.
And so I thought, I don't know how he's going to handle this. But they act like they're all best friends. So
Good. Good.
it's great. It's been great. And his mom is real. His new mom will be wonderful.
Good.
She's patient with them and just be wonderful.
So evidence to what you said, James, you still see God working
Oh, yeah.
through this.
That's probably the biggest part.
Mhm.
The only thing I don't like about being sick is the neurologist won't let you drive.
Yeah.
And the grocery store just that far from our house, but I can't get there.
I don't know. So speaking of that, for either one of you, what's been the hardest thing, whether it's a practical thing or an emotional thing? What's been the hardest adjustment?
Not getting to do things that I took for granted.
Like driving?
Driving, going places, you know, getting paid.
Yeah.
That's a big one. But I couldn't have done it. The kids would drive me crazy.
No. Right.
So,
Okay.
anyway. But your wife's been very helpful with all that.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
she was like, just quit it.
Yeah.
Quit it. I said, okay.
Yeah.
Now I just have to tell my principal, and I did. And it
We
was,
got a feeling of completion because you did it as
Yes.
long as you possibly
I know.
could. You didn't quit too early. That
Right.
decision
Yes.
was made for you.
That's right. And James agreed.
Yeah. That's right.
he was in agreement on that. So
Yeah. Well,
and he didn't know, but I was going to do it anyway, even if he didn't agree.
right.
But he knew me, and
No,
he knew how much
he
I
saw
cared.
it. He saw it early on.
Mhm, he did.
How about you, James?
And that's several layers deep. I think the simplest one is up front is that, I mean, you're not that far behind us, you and Sherry in age, and we've talked about, you know, God's plan in your life and what you think and hope. And at some point, you're looking at being able to sort of turn the corner and turn the page and begin enjoying life in a different way with your wife because you don't have children or take care of or responsibilities with a church. And, you know, we had yet to get to that place, and just when we thought we were about to get there, then this comes, which means that there's nothing certain about what tomorrow holds. So dispensing with, you know, those ideas of, you know, we're going to travel, what are we going to try to do at this point in time.
But you told me we were going to do some of that. So
Yeah, we
don't
are.
forget.
Yes,
Okay.
now right, and we've all, you know, because the you know, the prognosis in neurological diseases, certainly like dementia, and for her it's frontotemporal dementia that she has. That, you know, we don't know timeline, we don't know the sequence of what's going to happen, and so it's like, well, what is it you would like to do that you both want to do? And we just need to do that while we can, because there'll come a day when we
That's right.
can't. So that was the big part of that. And I guess second, because, and you and I have talked about this and laughed about this, it's like we're married to the same woman, is that you and I are both get up and go getters and climb the mountain and, you know, that kind of stuff. And our wives are just quite the
Leave
opposite.
me alone and let me watch
Yeah,
cooking shows.
Mhm.
yeah. that for me, I've grown so accustomed, even this season of life, to having the latitude of movement.
Yep.
You know, when she'd get up in the morning and take Liam to school, and then I had the freedom here to read or to shoot videos or to get out and go play golf or to go, you know, meet somebody for lunch. I could come and go, and we just sort of managed life in a nice leisurely way.
Yeah.
And now all of that is gone because everything has been recalculated. The fact that, you know, we discovered at the end of last fall that she was suffering from anemia in addition to the cognitive stuff, which contributed to that. Mm. And so that had to be addressed first, which accounted for her weakness and her falling. And you know, I'm not going to go into the fact that when I was in Texas when my brother died and she fell, and you and Sherry were so gracious to come over and check us on her that next day. That was a consummate catch-22 for me. It's like, you know, there was no way around it, nothing I could do about it. And because of that, though, it's like I'm very concerned about leaving her unattended for any length of time because it can happen.
Sure.
And so now I installed one, you know, webcam in the bedroom that looks down the hallway to the bathroom, so I can check, see if, and I just ordered some more that came in today, so I'm going to position those around the house. So I'm looking at ways that, because I don't want her to feel like she's homebound.
Right.
We have latitude to get out and go, any more than me, but it's the reality.
Yep.
You know, I can't just say, hey, I'm going to leave and be going with the boys over here to the golf course for the next 4 or 5 hours, and I'll see you when you get home. Can't do that anymore. So all that has to be factored into the people who are gracious enough to come alongside us and say, well, I'll come and hang out with Sarah, and we'll go to lunch, and then we'll go pick Liam up, so you go and do that. And because all the things that we know and we've read about, these caregivers quite often suffer terribly because they don't take care of themselves.
Yep.
And how do you do that when you're not given to ask for help? Mm. When it's in your nature, just suck it up and say, I'll just do whatever needs to be done. And that's me. I want to do that, but I just know that I have to say, you know what, I'm not too proud to say I need help. And so we're trying to figure those things out in God's timing. And so that's really the hardest part. It's making the adjustments to reality. Mm. It's like not because of what I want, it's because of what is. And so how do we make the most out of that?
That's right.
And for God to get glorified by that as well.
Well, absolutely, and that's a good lead into what I want to ask next. Sarah mentioned probably an example of, even with this, we see where maybe in God's timing, He supplied Liam with a stepmom, and he's a little older, and she's the perfect fit, and all of that. So, James, has there been a moment, or just over a period of time, you've just seen God really clearly show up?
Well, I mean, that was a huge part right there. Mm-hmm. The fact that when Susan died, then Sarah, as the grandmother, became really the woman in the
right. Yeah.
That female figure. And because our son goes to work so early in the morning before it's time to drop off for school, then, you know, he would drop Liam off here, and then she would take him to school, and so he was an integral part of our life. And then bring him home in the afternoon, and of course that first year after she died was just, you know, our son was a walking zombie, so was Dar. He turned that corner, but still, I mean, that's a long way from what's next, and not knowing what that's looking like, and so our lives are wound up in his in terms of those challenges and opportunities. And so for him to meet Jennifer, and for the Lord to bring them to that place of, you know, finding each other and having shared such, because she had lost her husband at the same time, you know, Jonathan lost his wife, and she was left with 2 little ones. And she just, you know, she proved the spiritual character that she has and done a terrific job with them and providing home and life for them. So now, to me, that's a huge part of this miracle. You know, there are background things that you know, when we left Maryland and came down, we weren't 65 yet. You know, that was the original plan. God had other plans, and so, you know, what does retirement look like? Retirement income.
Yeah.
Well, I had my guidestone. You know, that I had, the Lord had. Even though the churches didn't invest heavily in that, the Lord had enabled me in the last few years to do some makeup stuff and to invest in that. And so between that and my Social Security, which hit us, and her retirement from the state of Maryland and her Social Security. But not only that, as a part of her retirement was medical coverage, which is our backup to Medicare.
It was
Yeah.
such a good move.
But you can't buy policies
Right.
that are as good as that.
That's right.
And so that all these doctors, it doesn't matter what, we're out nothing. And it's like, to me, if you want a major miracle, offset medical expenses today, that God is, taking care of all that, and what it looks like going forward.
Yep.
I've even looked into that. So one of the hard lessons for me, because I'm so driven and a sense of self-sufficiency, is to not try to help God help me. And the last several years, I've tried that several times, and it never works. It always costs me when I try to help God help me. And so now it's like stepping back and going, okay, Lord, I want to do something about this. But it hadn't worked before.
Yeah.
And I want to sit on my hands this time to see how you're gonna come through with this. And so far, it's like he's met just every need that we've had. And so it's like, okay, well, there's not anything more I can do because I can't improve it. I've proven that.
Yeah, and he's proven himself in Texas and Maryland
Oh, yeah.
and here and all places in between too.
Having a house that,
Yeah,
I never thought we'd have a house that
Oh,
was
my.
as lovely on the inside as it is.
absolutely.
And so I know that he was working in all of that. And you try to fathom that in your mind, all the things he's done.
Yeah,
We serve an awesome God.
I know.
Well, I just think about you in this whole thing. We met at the coffee shop the first time. I wasn't a member of your church, and for whatever reason, you didn't get turned off and turned away, and you've welcomed us into your life, into the life of the church family, and so have other people who are part of that. And I look at, I told Sarah the other day that I really feel like in some ways I'm getting respect now for who I am, more so than I ever did when I was pastor.
Wow.
That God is doing that in the lives, whether it's James and Sam and how they treat me with such, and now Zach, he's doing the same thing, and some of these other young guys, and I'm just overwhelmed. And I know it's the grace of God.
Well, it is, but we're also you're into that season, and other people see it, I think, where, I don't throw around the word sage very much, but you are, Eldridge wrote that in a book. He says there's 4 seasons to our life. That last one is the sage, the elder, where it's not so much what you're doing, it's who you're influencing because of your experience and your knowledge. And that's where you are. And you're in a target-rich area to be able to pour into people like that. And you just mentioned 3 of them, and there's others that are in our community that you've been mentoring also.
Well, and she's going to, at the encouragement of Joe Rayburn, I'm going to take her to the church in the morning. She's going to attend the ladies' Bible study.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
And
Does
so,
Sherry get to go to that?
No, she hasn't, and she hasn't started since she's retired. But
I'll get her there.
that's a good group. It's a good group.
Sometimes when you've been in so many other churches, you get reticent
Sure.
about, do I really want to get involved? And I've gotten involved in so many lives, but one of the lives that I got in Maryland was a lady that every Thursday we have a Bible study together. We start a new book until the book's over with. Then we get a new one, and she's so much fun. She's a widow, and she is had stroke, and she came back from that stroke like gangbusters.
Good.
And now she's working again. She's teaching in a school. Well,
Wow.
not teaching. She's aiding in a school,
Yeah.
and so far she's having a good time.
Yeah.
She worried about her speech because at the beginning, after her stroke, she had trouble putting words together. I have that same issue right now. I know they're there. It's like they're there somewhere. It'll come back in a little bit, But And she's been good to visit with them
Mhm.
because she can compare what happened when she had her stroke
Yep.
and being with dementia. And sometimes I just tell her, it's your turn to read because I just can't read.
Very good.
So,
Well, I hear both of you saying basically, when in high anxiety times especially, that's when we tend to hear God just say, I know what you need.
just let me do
He knows. He already knows. And he's supplying it. So that's good. So what advice would you have where you are in this situation, Sarah, and also you, James? What advice would you have for somebody that'll be watching us that, we certainly don't wish it on anyone, but they may one day be facing the same trial?
Well, first thing, it's not as catastrophic as I thought it was going to be.
Hmm.
So, I'm still me. And,
Yep.
The only thing different about my husband is God has softened his heart,
Mm.
and he helps me upstairs, and
Yeah.
he carries things for me, and we know that James isn't always that, but he is with me, so I'm just glad that, I guess he still loves me.
That's exactly right. And he's going to see this through.
He is.
He's not going anywhere, is he?
He's going to have to argue with God. Yeah, I don't have, like, pains or
Yeah,
right now, except when I fall and hit my head.
yeah.
That doesn't feel so good. And he was out of town
Yeah.
when that all happened. But I was at the beginning of it, and I didn't even know, I didn't even care that I fell and hit my head.
Well, you didn't know you were anemic either, probably.
No,
Okay,
didn't know any of that. So, it all got handled.
there you go.
I was there in those 3 hours. Was it 3 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours.
On my bathroom floor, cold. It was
Mm.
in cold weather, but I couldn't move.
Mm.
I couldn't move, and every time I tried to lift my head, it started going backwards again, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to hit my head again."
Mm.
But I see different things happen every week. I think, pretty much.
Yeah.
So he listens to me complain,
That's okay.
and God does too.
Yep. Good. Good.
It's funny not to have my sister.
Yeah.
It's funny not to have my mama. And I don't know, Daddy would just say, "Get up, you're fine." He was a military man. And he carried himself well, and he would just think, "You gotta get up and do it again."
Mm-hmm. There you go. So there's nothing wrong with being a little bit more reliant on your spouse.
That's right. I'm not so used to that either.
That's right. You've always been very independent. Okay. How about you, James?
I'm reasonably persuaded that this is God's refining process in me.
Mhm.
When we first got together, dated briefly and then got married, she was a very dependent person. And I tried to encourage her into independence.
It's your fault.
And so I achieved success.
Right.
And so over the years, a lot of husbands, wondered, does my wife need me for something other than unplugging the toilet when it gets stopped, like fixing the car? And so all those questions have been done away with, because now I know that, she does need me.
Mm.
And I don't have any problem stepping up and meeting the need, whatever it is. And I think it's safe to say that I don't know that I've ever loved her more.
Mm.
Than now.
Mm.
And God, He doesn't waste anything. His purposes, His processes, His plans, those kind of things, as they're unfolding for us, that He's trying to shape the image of Christ in us. And it's a refining process. And for some of us, it's a very painful refining process because we resist
Yeah.
God's refining process. But I don't want to resist it. I want to embrace it.
Yeah.
And I want God to do that in me which needs to be done so that at the end of the day, I will be more of the man that he called me to be at the very beginning. So Christ be formed in me as a result of this. And I want to be able to say, and I'm repeating myself from some of the videos I've shot, I want to be able to say anywhere along the way, if nobody can look me in the face and say, you can't tell me, I want to say, I can tell you. This is what life has handed me, and God is more than able. And he can be trusted, and he has purpose and plan in this, and it's right, and it's best, and it's perfect. And I just want to know what that is, because I want the best that he has for me, for her, for those who I may get a chance to influence somewhere along the way, until I draw my last breath. I want it to matter.
Yep.
I want it to matter. I could never see, even in the best dreams about what life's going to be like in retirement, I was never that guy who'd go play golf 5 days a week.
Right.
Because, why it's possible to share the gospel with somebody on the golf course. It's not very fruitful. Because it ruins a lot of already bad golf for people. And so that's just not in me. So somehow to have fun while you're doing the other kind of stuff. And for this is not incidental or coincidental.
No.
This is providential.
It is. You both are, I think, good examples of what Jesus saw in the temple shortly before his crucifixion, when he positioned himself across from the money vat, and a lady walked up, and she.
An old thing.
Yeah, she was not looking to be seen, and she probably wanted to be invisible, but she put her two mites in there, and Jesus pronounced her as giving more than anybody else. And I think that's what I hear you both saying is, yeah, this has happened and it's a reality, but we're still going to give our all. We're still going to give everything we have.
Can we do an annotation on that? And this is to back up a little bit to a previous question that you just made me think about it, is that when the capital campaign that the church entered into last year, and people make pledges, and it's like, we're in that category, we're on fixed income, people already said that fixed income, so it's like, okay, this is a faith step for us. It's not really like we got deep pockets and we got rich relatives and those kind of things. So, so the pledge that we made was a pledge of faith, and God made it possible to give all that in the first year.
Wow. Yeah.
And to say, an accountant, a bookkeeper would say, you're nuts for doing that. You can't afford to do that.
Right.
But God, and so for me, talk about a major miracle, but it's in respect to the very question you asked about the sufficiency of God. If God can, under our current economic conditions in the country, God can do that.
Yeah.
With us and then this other kind of stuff, then there's really nothing too big or too small.
That's a great point. It's the multiplication principle.
I did ask him if we had enough money.
Sure.
Just
What did he say? No?
no, he said yes. We're just going to do it. I said okay.
Yeah, we had. You'll want to cut this out because of the next. We decided to both come up with our number after we're going to pray separately about it.
Okay.
I said, write yours down. I'll write mine down. And we slid our number across the table, and they were way far apart. And it was like, what do we do now? I mean, it's not like you're right and I'm wrong or vice versa. And I said, I think we need to pray more about it. And so off we go. And this time, it was almost the same, the second time. Same as you. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what put, there ain't no way. Might as well add 2 more zeros to that. Because we're not going to be able to do this.
That's right.
But we will because of him. And because he told us, I feel like told us to pledge that much. And that's the beauty of being all in a faith relationship with Christ, I think, is you it's scary and exhilarating at the same time, because you know, if it's going to happen, I know it's going to have to be him. Can't be me.
Yeah.
What's the guy that I like to listen to because of you?
John Lennox.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I've been listening. He's got a whole channel, I think, that you can find him on. But I always ask myself, what would John Lennox do? You know, how would he handle this?
Mm.
And I have no doubt in my mind how he'd handle it. He's going to be straightforward in what he gives, and
There you go.
he's great.
Well, this is my last question. I think you've already answered it, maybe, James, but it might spur a little bit more thought. What have you learned about yourself through this so far?
That I have to trust my husband, too.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Because I don't have any choice.
You don't have any choice. That's
I
right.
have no choice. And I mean, I've always known that he's a thinker, and he thinks things through, and he's going to do what's right.
Mm.
And he's been so helpful with getting hold of all these doctors, and it's been amazing how many. That's why I'm glad some of these appointments are going to be over.
Yeah,
Some
absolutely.
of them would come here to the house, and some of them, well, they weren't doctors,
PT and OT.
PT and OTs, and they don't give up for nothing. It's just like,
That's their job.
stop. Yeah, they had exercises.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Absolutely. How about you, James?
It's sort of an interesting, because there's a tension in this because of my nature that he's granting me a grace, and for me that doesn't come easy, because I'm about high accountability and responsibility and integrity and those kind of things, and when other people don't live up to that, I tend not to want to be gracious. You know, what's wrong with them? But in respect to this, because, I remind her when she apologizes for the things that are going on. I said, there's nothing to apologize for. It's not anything you did to bring this on. It's a condition of your mind, and it's just going to be fixed. So I'm discovering that God is granting me that grace in this context, that in all the adjustments and all the changes and, that we're having to make, that it's from Him, and I do know that, and how we manage every part of the day, right down to the end of the day, and all that means, because I told her at the very beginning, when we said I do, it was for better or worse, in sickness and in health. And I said, I signed on for this. I didn't want this, but, I signed on for it, and so this is what it is, and God is going to, and I want to think, not second guessing God, but as we continue this journey and get involved in these groups of people, the biggest challenge, I don't know if you know this, and should not talk about it today, is the perception that people have of folks with dementia. I said, when they hear Alzheimer's, they think it's a certain category. When they think dementia, they're thinking, where do you think that word dementia comes from? It makes people uncomfortable. They think you've lost your mind, kind of thing. And so part of this video is for people to say she's still with us in every way. So it's just simply a cognitive condition that she has. But we're going to continue to explore that. The local organizations and the groups. And I'm just thinking how many people that we're going to encounter in those that don't know Jesus.
That's right.
And how many of them are going to want to blame God for their condition.
Yep.
And to have an opportunity to be salt and light there, that if we were perfectly healthy, they wouldn't give a rip about what we had to say. But because we're living through this too, and we can exalt Christ through this,
Yep.
It's an opportunity and a privilege that you can't buy any other way. And so wherever it happens to be, in whatever that context, I just see, because I'm, casting my bread on the water, and as much as I want to share the gospel anywhere and everywhere with wherever it happens to be, at dead and dying churches, but it's in a place like this where people are avoiding because they have a condition that people are afraid to deal with or talk about or make assumptions about, that think, wow, this is a huge opportunity.
That's our next door neighbor.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wow.
Very good.
We've been able to help minister to him.
Yep, that's right.
And not get in like he's in regular old jail.
Yeah, but he's been very sympathetic.
Good, I bet.
Oh, has he?
Well, I mean, he brought us a bunch of strawberries last week from the strawberry patch, and
They're wondering. We told us how to fix it.
And a while back,
Get it free.
he gave us a gift card to go eat on, because,
Good.
you know, and so, you see those opportunities, because I know that in those kind of places, whether it's a group, you know, that get there for support, and they're talking about issues, and they're not expecting
Right.
a witness from Christ to be in those kind of places.
Well, that's so true. You're losing a little bit of power and strength, but you're gaining authority. And now you can speak with a lot of authority into people's lives because you have been there, you are there. And that's why I'm especially proud of you, Sarah, because you have been so open and honest today about all of this. And my favorite quote of the day is when you said, "Hey, I'm still me," and that's what I'm glad is getting communicated to a lot of people who are in this boat or they will be in this. That's the reminder: you're still you.
Right.
That's not going to change. Thank you. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir. Thank you for coming up with me.